You're about to hear a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about people, their lives, and the secrets they hide. Imagine a seemingly perfect family, a loving mother, a caring father, and a teenage daughter who has it all. Now, what if I told you that one of them, the very daughter who appeared to be very calm, was the one who killed both of her parents? You'd think I was crazy, right? But trust me, by the time you hear this story, you might start to wonder if you ever really know anyone. So, there's this woman. Let's call her Sarah. She's a 17-year-old girl living in a quiet, small town in Georgia. Before we dive deeper, I'm your host, and if true crime stories like this keep you on the edge of your seat, go ahead and drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Now, back to Sarah. Sarah's life looks perfect on the outside. She's smart, she has friends, and she gets good grades. Her family is well known and well liked in their community. Her mom, Kristen, and her stepfather, James, are the kind of people everyone turns to when they need help. They're caring, involved in the church, and totally devoted to their kids. And Sarah? Well, she's their pride and joy. A good kid, always smiling, never causing any trouble. Now, at first glance, everything about Sarah's life seems to fit the picture of the American dream. But here's the thing that no one could have predicted. Sometimes, the picture-perfect life can hide a dark secret. And in Sarah's case, that secret would be one that no one, especially her own family, could ever have imagined. So, here's how it all started. It's February 2025, a month that would forever change the course of Sarah's life. Her mother and stepfather were found dead in their bed, shot in cold blood. But what makes this story so strange and so deeply unsettling is that the discovery wasn't made by the police. It wasn't even made by a neighbor. No, the one who found them was their 6-year-old daughter, Sarah's younger sister. Imagine that for a second, a child walking into that horrific scene, finding her parents lifeless and cold. At first, the town was shocked, devastated. A double homicide in a small town like Carrollton was unheard of. The investigation began quickly, and like any case, everyone tried to piece together what happened. Was it a robbery gone wrong? A random act of violence? Was it someone the family knew? All of those questions hung in the air, but what no one could have imagined was that Sarah, the one who had just lost both of her parents, was the one responsible. So at first, everyone thought Sarah was just like any other grieving daughter. She was the one to make the 911 call, after all. And when she spoke to the dispatcher, her voice was calm, too calm. She wasn't screaming, she wasn't crying. There wasn't any sign of the panic you would expect from someone who just found their parents murdered. Instead, it was as if she was describing a scene she had already witnessed 1,000 times. It was almost as though she was detached from the situation, as if it wasn't really happening to her. At the time, no one thought much of it. The police didn't have any reason to suspect Sarah. She was just a kid, barely more than a child herself, and who would think she could be capable of something like that? But here's where things started to get a little strange. The following days were filled with tributes to Kristen and James. Sarah spoke at their funeral, of course. But here's the part that still blows my mind. Her eulogy wasn't like any normal grieving child's speech. Sarah stood up and spoke so eloquently, so calmly, about her parents. She didn't break down in tears like you would expect. No, she was composed, almost too composed, like she was reading from a script. It was the perfect speech, the kind of thing you see in movies or TV shows when someone is acting the role of the grieving child, the one who seems like they're on the verge of a breakdown but never quite reaches that point. So at first, people just thought, maybe she's in shock. Maybe she's still processing everything. But the thing was, this wasn't just a one-time thing. Sarah kept posting on social media, sharing pictures of her parents, writing emotional messages about them. But here's where things get weird. She kept posting for weeks, even after the funeral. It wasn't just the typical mourning behavior. It felt like she was trying too hard to make sure everyone knew how devastated she was. Was she trying to convince others? Or was she trying to convince herself? Now, this is where it gets even stranger. Sarah wasn't just posting pictures. She wasn't just sharing tributes. She did something that raised a lot of eyebrows. She reached out to true crime influencers on social media. Yeah, you heard that right. Sarah contacted influencers who specialized in covering murder cases and asked them to cover her parents' deaths. If you think about it, why would a grieving daughter, someone whose parents had just been brutally murdered, ask people she didn't even know to broadcast her story to the world? It seemed off. And here's where things start to unravel. A few weeks after the funeral, Sarah posted a video, a TikTok video. And this is the part that gives me chills. In the video, Sarah calmly said, "They don't know it, but a year from now, me and my 5-year-old sister will find them wrongfully shot dead." The strange thing? This video was posted before her parents' bodies were discovered. How did Sarah know that? How did she know what was going to happen before it even did? It was almost as if she was telling a story that was already written, already planned, and it didn't just look like a grieving daughter's ramblings. No, it was deliberate. It was chilling. Now, this is the part that still blows my mind. After Sarah posted that video, she didn't stop. She didn't back down. Instead, she doubled down on her social media campaign. The more she posted, the more questions people started asking. How could she be so calm? How could she act like everything was fine? And that's when people started to wonder, what if Sarah wasn't just playing the grieving daughter? What if she had something to do with this whole thing? But then, things just kept getting worse. Months went by, and Sarah kept up the act. She posted more tributes, spoke more about her parents, shared more about how she missed them. But no one could ignore the growing sense of unease. Sarah wasn't just mourning, she was manipulating the world around her. She was crafting a narrative, and the whole town was buying into it. People around her still believed she was innocent. After all, how could a young girl like Sarah be capable of something so horrible? She was the daughter, the victim, the one who had lost everything. But here's where it all falls apart. Months after the murder, in July, Sarah turned herself in. The truth came spilling out. Slowly, as investigators pieced together the evidence, texts, social media posts, photos, it became clear. Sarah had orchestrated everything. She wasn't just the victim, she was the murderer. So, the trial began. And of course, it became a media sensation. The whole town was watching, and people across the country tuned in. The story of the sweet, grieving daughter who turned out to be the killer was something no one could resist. As the trial unfolded, the prosecution laid out the case, and it was damning. Sarah's social media posts, the strange video she posted before the bodies were discovered, the fact that she had been reaching out to true crime influencers to spread her story, it all painted a picture of a girl who had meticulously planned her parents' deaths and then played the role of the grieving child. But here's where it gets even crazier. The defense tried to argue that Sarah was a victim of circumstance, that she was under intense pressure from her parents, that maybe this was just a moment of temporary madness. But the evidence didn't back that up. Sarah didn't snap. She planned this. The prosecution showed how Sarah had been in control every step of the way. She had plotted the murders, she had executed them. And then, she had spent months covering up the crime, all while pretending to be the victim. And then came the moment we had all been waiting for. The verdict. Sarah Grace Patrick was found guilty of 2 counts of murder. The room went silent. Sarah didn't react. She didn't cry. She didn't show any emotion. It was almost as if she had been preparing for this moment all along. So now, Sarah is serving a life sentence in prison. The girl who once seemed like the perfect daughter, the innocent one, is now a convicted murderer. Her family? Well, they're broken. Some of them still hold on to the hope that she's innocent, while others are left to wonder how they could have missed the signs. The community? They're left in shock. How could someone so young, someone who seemed so innocent, be capable of such a thing? And now, here we are. Sarah Grace Patrick's story isn't just a tragedy. It's a cautionary tale. It's a reminder that sometimes, the people we think we know the best are the ones hiding the darkest secrets.
Gist with Olivia.